The most powerful form of engagement online is when a regular person posts on their channels about something they truly believe in.
The messenger matters more than the message.
Most of the sharing that happens on the web does not happen on public platforms. It happens in private platforms.
Having conversations about politics these days can be like very contentious. And so I think there is this like perception that people kind of shy away from it. And I think we found that a lot more people are comfortable with it than we ever thought.
WhatsApp has the highest click-through rate of all social networks.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Hello Merge Tag, a podcast about social media, politics, and where they intersect. We check in with candidates, consultants, strategists, and more to find out what's working and what's not in the political digital world. I'm your host, Josh Clemens of Reverbal Communications. We help progressive campaigns and organizations win the internet. Have questions you want answered on the pod? Have a guest or topic recommendation? Just want to say hey? Drop us a line at hello@reverbalcommunications.com. Find all episodes at hellomergetag.com or wherever you stream podcasts. Now let's dive in. Look out, Facebook. Now you can drive website visits directly from CivicShout. Introducing Express CPC, CivicShout's new cost-per-click ad system. Everyone already knows that CivicShout's the best way to grow your opt-in email list. Folks like M&R, Greenpeace, and Feeding America stand by it. So can you. Grow your list and run traffic campaigns that hit so hard, your team will wonder how you did it. Environmental Action called CivicShout a wildly better way to grow your email list. And Clarify Agency saw a 200% return on ad spend in just 2 months. CivicShout, the ad platform for progressive causes. Head to civicshout.com/partners to learn more. That's civicshout.com/partners. Hey y'all, quick note before we dive in. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving a review on Apple, Google, or wherever you listen. We're also putting every episode on YouTube now, so if you prefer your digital deep dives with video, head on over that way. You can find all links plus lots more at hellomergetag.com. And if you're already watching on YouTube, hey, apparently I am legally obligated to say, please like and subscribe. So go ahead and do that. Okay, thanks, y'all. Back to the show. Tudor Mihailescu is a co-founder and CEO of SoSha, an AI-powered social amplification platform that helps mission-driven organizations leverage the social clout of their communities. Before SoSha, Tudor did a PhD in political science focused on US presidential speechwriting patterns and co-founded a social network for politics called GovFaces. Amanda Brink is the executive director of Empower Project, helping organizations grow relational organizing programs. Prior to Empower Project, she worked with Organizing for America, the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, Tony Evers' first statewide race, and a whole lot more. In 2024, they teamed up on a nano-influencer program. They facilitated 9 million relational conversations with 3 million potential voters across 10 targeted states. They built a network of community mobilizers who collectively earned 80 million organic impressions on social media. I invited them on the pod to unpack that work, how they built it, what they learned, and what they think it means for the future of organizing and persuasion in the digital era. So first of all, thanks for coming on the pod. Let's start with you each telling us about your respective organizations. Full disclosure, I had the honor of working with Amanda at Empower Project back when they were called Organizing Empowerment, but I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. So yeah, feel free to tell us about yourself and the work you're doing.
Go for it,
Amanda.
Tudor.
Okay, Tudor, go for it.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation, Josh. I listened to the podcast, and I've heard many people were speaking about the community that listens to the pod. I've heard a lot of people in the progressive space mention your podcast, so I'm really excited to finally be on it. Yeah, so the work we're doing focuses on 2 very simple ideas. One of it is the most powerful form of engagement online is when a regular person posts on their channels about something they truly believe in. Right? That drives more clicks, more engagement than any other type of post, whether that's an ad or an influencer and so on, because regular people connect with their friends and networks. But even though this is the most effective form of engagement, organizations struggle with it because there's been no easy way to turn this type of, we call it organic social sharing, you can call it user-generated content, you could call it word of mouth, to turn it into a marketing category that can be optimizable, trackable, and scalable the way advertising is, the way influencer marketing is, or texting, or all of the other methods of campaigning. So this is what we're focused on SoSha. Is there a way to actually help organizations achieve through the social clout of their community members the same kind of goals they achieve through advertising, which is raise donations, do email acquisition, drive narrative change or persuasion at scale, and how can they achieve that? We've seen massive growth over the last year. We've driven close to 2 million social posts, working with amazing partners in the progressive space, including the Harris campaign in 2024, Wisconsin Dems. We're speaking about Wisconsin earlier before the show started, but also the Human Rights Campaign, Planned Parenthood, Indivisible, Empower, and many others.
Nice. And Amanda?
I'm Amanda. Thanks for having me, Josh. It's good to see you again.
Always.
We should get together in real life and not just in the virtual space.
Definitely. Everybody's invited.
Yeah. So Empower Project specializes in relational organizing or friend-to-friend organizing. We basically are banking on the fact that we think the messenger matters more than the message, and it's important to get in front of people's eyeballs in different ways, as we're seeing less people knocking on doors, less people engaging with digital ads, less people answering the phone, and less people responding to text messages. And so in 2024, we ran a large-scale paid relational organizing program that you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, where we hired 47,000 community mobilizers, aka gig workers, and asked them to talk to their friends and family about the election. And then we started like kicking around and thinking, well, what else can we ask them to do? And one of those things was post on their own social network platforms to leverage their own power with their own followers and their own audience. And so we were looking for a partner to help us with that work. And we talked to a few folks, and SoSha's who we ended up spending the most time with. And so since then, we've, I feel like Tudor's been a really good learning partner. I don't know that everything we've tried has all worked out, but at the end of the day, we're making, I think, a lot of progress that other organizations are not jealous, but like envious of and are interested in. And so I think it continues to be a good partnership from our end. So,
well, let's start there. Like, what are some, like, you jumped right into it. So let's just talk some like high level, like what can folks learn from what you were able to accomplish through the Community Mobilizers program?
So I think it was surprising to a lot of folks to learn that people are willing to like, not influencers of like people who like make money at this every day and do this for a living, but there's like regular everyday people who are willing to go direct to camera and like do a selfie style video and like tell their own story and have that be shared. There's also, I also think that people are willing to, not everybody wants to talk about candidates, but if you give people a variety of material to choose from, they're happy to talk about, difficult topics like abortion, like who they're going to vote for, like why they're concerned about this candidate, why they like this candidate, why they like another candidate. Like, I think, I don't know. Having conversations about politics these days can be like very contentious. And so I think there is this like perception that people kind of shy away from it. And I think we found that a lot more people are comfortable with it than we ever thought. They care about the food that's being put on their table or not being put on their table, how it's hard to keep a roof over their head and gas in their tank. And they're willing to tell us about it. It's really kind of interesting.
Did y'all find that people were more comfortable talking about issues or candidates, or there was no distinction?
For us, it was about a 50-50 split.
Is that true across the platform, Tudor, or it's hard to compare most of your partner work to this project in particular?
So I think it's important to drill down into the types of actions that are being shared, right? So we have a few different categories. Donations, right? So people sharing about donations. This is the people sharing usually get interest from people who already bought in, right? So they already believe in a cause, and right. So that's a different interaction. Petitions is a little bit different because we usually see that people engage specifically on issues that they care about, not necessarily about the organization themselves. So the people who, when someone shares a post organically about the petition, the people who click on that are much more interested in the issue than they're interested in a certain political party. So that's definitely the case. For persuasion and going further, it really varies. For instance, in the work we did with Empower, we were looking at who engaged with the posts of the trusted messengers, and we then ended up giving them content based on who was engaging with that content. Our hypothesis there was actually much more focused on people trust people who look alike, right? And when we were seeing, when Amanda's team was seeing that when a particular nano-influencer were sharing content with their networks and they were seeing a certain type of people clicking on that content, then we would give them a content that was specifically geared for that kind of audience.
Yeah. So Josh, to like make this, like say this more plainly, like if I started to notice that your social media audience was very mobilization focused because you're a lefty, I would then give you more mobilization / red meat content to post on social media. And if my social media feed, if I started to notice that my own social media feed was more persuasion-y, more like middle of the road on the partisanship score, I would start to give myself more persuasion content to post to like basically engage the persuadable voters in my audience.
And that analysis was being done based on what actions folks were taking. Like, so I post 5 or 6 times, and y'all can track on the back end which of my posts were moving things, or are you like connecting to the voter file to see like who's moving along to the platform before they even share?
Yeah, we connected basically, like we did some, I don't know, somebody called it device gymnastics. Okay. Device gymnastics of matching back to the voter file. And we started looking at people's persuasion scores and people's mobilizations, their turnout scores essentially. And so started making inferences based off of that. The thing that you're describing of like, you know, what do we give them to post and, you know, how far does that move people? I think that's the next, Tudor, I don't want to speak for you, but like, I think that's the next iteration of like what we're interested in looking at. But so far what we've been able to dig in on seems really interesting and really promising.
So I just want to clarify though, are you looking at my network based on who came back to the social platform, or are you actually able to like figure out who follows me on social channels using some of this device wizardry that you alluded to?
I know for a very long time, a lot of technologists in the progressive space have zeroed in on this idea that we can connect people's social network account with the voter file. We're not doing that. We're taking a different approach. The approach we're taking is whenever someone shares a post through SoSha, we create a unique link for that share. And we know that their intention has been to share on this platform. When someone clicks on that link, we can find out more information about the clicker and connect them to the sharer and to the content that was shared and on what social networks. So the information we actually gather about the clickers, that's information that we can then use to resolve the identity of that person with varying levels of accuracy. This actually leads into one of the biggest challenges we're finding, which is what is the degree of accuracy that we can actually determine the identity of someone who actually clicks on a link.
Well, and can you talk more about, so like obviously two of the largest social platforms, Instagram and TikTok, literally don't allow for links. So like how do you handle that?
I mean, so Instagram does. And so remember, these are regular folks, right? So regular people don't post in their feeds unless they're getting married or other really big life moments, right? Most people are actually using stories to share. And Instagram actually is, I would say, even encouraging of folks sharing links in their stories. So we actually see a lot of click-throughs when people are sharing posts in their stories on Instagram. So that's an easy way to actually see, okay, who clicks on these links? And we've even seen, we've done even some work with organizations that have used bigger influencers to actually track that in stories, and it drives a fair amount of clicks. TikTok, indeed. On TikTok, it's less likely. I will say, though, that most of the sharing that happens on the web does not happen on public platforms. It happens in private platforms. Discord, Telegram, Signal, WhatsApp, where people are sharing in small groups. And those platforms encourage people to share links. So yeah, that's how we can actually also understand who's connected to who much better.
Of these like massive amounts of engagement that y'all got throughout this project, like what percentage of the content was shared into public groups versus private? Was that something you were able to track, like Slacks and WhatsApps and
I don't know, Tudor. Do you know? That's not something I was looking at.
For that project specific, I don't have the numbers on it now, but in general, so I can share that. So I'm looking actually on the SoSha platform right now over the last 90 days. And the WhatsApp is the platform that was used the most.
Interesting. For this project in particular, or across the platform? Globally. Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
And is that vast majority US based content, or are you working with international partners as well?
We also work with Europeans and Canadians.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
But even within America, like you're finding that the vast majority, or not the vast, but the majority of content is being shared in WhatsApp over Instagram, Twitter, or anything else?
In certain organizations. So unfortunately, we see a really interesting shift here. So a lot of organizations that are engaging with immigrant communities or first-generation Americans, they know that those communities are spending a lot of time on WhatsApp, but very few of them actually have a strategy for engaging on WhatsApp. So the US organizations that have a strategy for WhatsApp organizing are seeing great traction. Unfortunately, it's a minority
of organizations that are thinking about it.
Yes, exactly.
So let's give the rest of them some advice. How would you recommend thinking about a WhatsApp strategy for an organization that very likely has a bunch of leaders who don't use WhatsApp themselves?
Yeah, so what we see is that WhatsApp has the highest click-through rate of all social networks. How we measure that is per every share that happens on SoSha, how many clicks are happening on that link? And the WhatsApp click-through rate is actually double that of Facebook, of X, of Threads, and so on.
That's fascinating.
That is fascinating.
And so what I'll say here is, think of it as a way whenever, first of all, it's a matter of allowing people to share on that, right? So encouraging people to share petitions or donations with their close friends. It may not mean just WhatsApp, but it may Signal too, Discord,
right,
iMessage, right? So people are sharing a lot of content on these messages, on these messaging platforms, but organizing programs have not caught up with the fact that they can be a massive source of click-through.
Yeah.
Especially in an environment where everyone is bemoaning, whoa, people don't click on websites anymore because of generative AI search, right? Clicks are not happening. Well, they're happening. It's just they're happening in different media, and organizing programs need to catch up with that. So
No, that's super interesting. So it sounds like it's less about like an organization doesn't necessarily need a WhatsApp strategy so much as they need like a walled garden strategy. Like, how are you going to get your people to talk to their people in their spaces? Amanda, I'd love to hear if is that something that y'all have worked out? Like, how do you do that?
I don't know that it's something that I have like solved for. We have started asking people to post on multiple platforms. Like when we were just asking people to post on one thing, they would go to Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, like whatever their favorite was. But now that we're asking people to post on 5 or 6 different platforms, we're actually getting more of a variety and seeing more WhatsApp in there. A lot of I wouldn't say half of our community mobilizers are Black. And so like we have like a fairly diverse like set of community mobilizers. 2/3 of them tend to be women. But I don't know that they're necessarily like into like doing a deep dive on some of the walled garden like platforms that they could be, but that's something that we're trying to figure out is like, I don't want to force them to artificially build a following that they don't necessarily have, but I do want to incentivize people who have more of a following on various platforms, including, WhatsApp.
Yeah, it's super interesting. What role, relational organizing is all about stories, right? Like what role did personal stories play in this project versus like, because I know with SoSha, you can like pre-write content or you can create spaces for people to create their own content. So I'm curious how much of this was giving people the tools to tell their own story versus sharing the story that like so many digital organizers, they're like, here's a toolkit. It's got 7 things. Please copy and paste this into Twitter. Like how much of it was that versus like giving them the space to tell their own version of why it mattered?
So I find that like giving the community mobilizers a variety of tasks is like key to success here. And like if they don't do one of the tasks, that's okay and no one's mad. But we have people who are comfortable like being quote unquote creators, and we have people who are just comfortable being amplifiers, and that's okay. And they get to choose their own adventure a little bit. Do I always want more creators? But I also think that the amplifiers play a really important role as well.
And were you changing content based on what you were seeing, or y'all just started with huge buckets of like opportunities of content and like put it out there and kind of watched how it grew?
We start with like sort of pre-made content. And then as we're getting more UGC, it starts to like fill in the funnel, if that makes sense. Because
Sure.
Frankly, like, we can't make enough content to like keep this thing moving. We have to use a lot of the like user generated content.
And on both user generated and the content that you were giving them to quote unquote amplify, like were you finding that video was outperforming graphics, or it didn't really matter? It was based on the story versus the medium.
I think it's based off of honestly just like so one of the things that we asked SoSha to build for us is like a randomizer, because we found that people were just like choosing some of the like top 5 things that were in the toolkit, and they were sharing the top 5 items. And now that we have a randomizer, we're actually starting to see, and I think get a bit better picture of like what people are actually willing to share. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. And so photos versus videos versus graphics, like, is it too soon to say, or like? Okay, cool. I'd be curious to hear.
One thing. So when we look at success of content, we look at it from multiple perspectives. One of it is what content is much more likely to get shared, right? So if a community mobilizer goes to a toolkit, what is the content that they're likely to share first? But then we're also looking at, once that content is shared with their networks, what content performs best. Right? And there can be multiple things. It can perform best in terms of click-throughs. It can perform best in terms of engagement on that post and so on. So from this perspective, I can actually demystify this a bit. So I'll say is, it's not rocket science. So the easiest post to share.
Says the guy with the PhD in this. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Not in rocket science, though.
Yeah, fair.
The easiest posts to share are posts that folks can share in a click, right? So these are usually links with texts, right? They're easy to share, right? Asking a user to do to record their own video is a much higher bar. So obviously those posts get shared less than the easy ones. In terms of engagement, it also depends on what you're aiming for. If the objective is to drive clicks on links, then posts with just links and an image perform very well, right? If your objective is much more reach and engagement, encouraging your community members to create their own videos or to post reels that are already created, those perform much better for engagement, right? But it's a matter of what the organization is trying to achieve.
Any surprises from this campaign? Anything that you went in with a hypothesis that was absolutely not correct?
I always thought that like social media, right? Like I'm a field human, came to the table with like an organizing background. And so I think the amount that we're able to like track and was surprising to me. Maybe Tudor knew all along, but so that was interesting to me. I always thought of digital as this like black box essentially, and I don't think it is anymore. I also feel like after the 2024 election, more people are interested in like bridging sort of the organizing / digital divide, right? Like normally those are two, you know, in a standard campaign, you have a field human, you have a comms human, and you have a fundraising human. They don't always talk to each other, right? And I think those silos are like breaking down pretty quickly at a much faster rate than I thought that they would. And so that's been interesting to me.
You're both building tools that help other people organize, essentially, right? Like you're helping organizations go out there and talk to people. And we've sort of already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it again because I think there's a lot to like think about here. Like the digital landscape is changing so rapidly. Like literally 2 years ago, or certainly 4 years ago, when I was working a campaign, there was 3 social channels that matter. Today, I'm regularly posting to at least 8 for some of my clients. I mean, it is like overwhelming. So I guess I'm just curious, how have you, like, again, you've sort of answered this, but like, how would you recommend folks think about digital, especially in relation to that last comment you just made, Amanda, that like digital is so intertwined with other things? How would you recommend somebody who's like new to this space or trying to like keep up, think about digital in relation to the rest of the infrastructure of a campaign?
I think that volume, and in an attention economy, volume matters more than saying the perfect words. That's my like hot take advice.
I will second that 100 times over for sure.
For me, I think the old way of doing social media was I'm an organization and I build an account and I invest a lot of money in building that account, which was totally fine when the social networks were, as you said, there were a finite number of social networks that everyone was on. We live in a time where social networks change super fast. So thinking much more in terms of being where your supporters are and arming your supporters with the right content to share wherever they want is much more important. Like we've seen some wild shifts. For instance, most of 2024, the most used platform on SoSha was X. That has now dropped to being the 5th most used, and Blue Sky has grown into the top 3.
Interesting.
Really fast. But these may change more. I think we're seeing a commodification of social networks, right? Where people understand that they use different social networks for different purposes. We don't have just one tool that everyone is using anymore. So thinking much more of following your supporters where they are. And I would also say the most effective way to distribute toolkits remains email. So thinking of a way to actually find a place where you as an organization own your list and have a way to engage with your supporters regardless of the changes in social networks, algorithms, and who owns them, is probably super important.
I mean, on that front, how much of SoSha, like I know you've brought up email acquisition a couple of times, like what percentage of the work happening on SoSha is actually about list acquisition for most of your clients, partners?
So we've done some educational work here that I think is going into the right direction. When we started, organizations were only thinking of toolkits as stuff that they give other coalition partners to share. Then we moved into, you can use toolkits for your own supporters just to make noise, which was code name for impressions, right? Our next stage was, well, organic social can actually reliably drive conversions. So this was the work we did 2023 and 2024. And I would say most of the large organizations we're working with right now are using SoSha for acquisition. Now, the next phase of our work and the work we did with Empower was pioneering, is making organizations understand that organic can help them discover new audiences that can then make their paid ads much more powerful. And we can speak about that and what the disconnect is there. But yes, so in terms of proportion, most of the large organizations we're working with at the moment are using SoSha for acquisition, but they also use it for other reasons.
Right.
We're like a different kind of.
Sure.
I feel like Tudor, where you're like odd client, right? Where we're like not using it for email acquisition at all, or not using it for fundraising at all. And I feel like sometimes we're the like, I don't know, your weird random friend.
Again, it's why I asked about the platform in general, because I assumed based on my knowledge of Empower Project that was not your top goal. Your goal is just to like
organizing.
To bring together a community. So, but I'm curious about like globally how folks are using it. So
yeah, so one of the really cool things about SoSha is that it's actually quite versatile. So we encourage organizations to use it for multiple purposes. Everything from rapid response to even recruiting staff members, right? You have a job application, you put it out there, your staff members are sharing them, and you get that in. Obviously, when it's campaign season, the primary use case is get out the vote, right? So it really varies, I would say, with seasons. So I wouldn't say that Empower is the odd use case. It's actually, it's persuasion, right? It's persuasion and mobilization, right? In campaign season, those are the core objectives of social sharing programs. So.
Yeah.
You mentioned that SoSha is helping folks see better returns on their ads. Like, can you talk? I'm sure folks listening would like to know more about that.
So I would say we're experimenting with this right now. I cannot yet come to you with numbers to prove it. I can more tell you in terms of the theory behind it, because there's also technological challenges that we're now working to overcome through what we're building. But the pitch sounds something like this, right? One of the problems we've seen progressives have is that they're failing to reach out to new audiences. Right? And we've seen numbers even from the DNC, right, that the contact rates for certain demographic segments are almost zero, like 5%, 7%. One of the problems with those is that how ads usually work is lookalike audiences are being built based on existing email lists. So you basically look at who you've already convinced to convert, and you build your audiences based on that data. What we're encouraging folks to think about is to think of organizing as the place where you discover new audiences and take those insights and use them to build better ad programs. Because one of the best things that organizing does is discovering new audiences, discovering new messages, not in the lab, but in the field. And digital organizing's promise was to bridge the world of organizing and data to actually produce the insights that can make scalable programs. I don't think it's met that promise. Our solution is, and I can give you an example, right? So someone shares a post with their networks, you see who clicked on that link, you understand what demographics elements, who they are. And then if that is an audience that you want to reach to, you already have insights into what engages them, so that you can use that data and then build better lookalike audiences at scale.
And this is like some of the things that I think are most interesting about our work together is I feel like, you know, what I want to be doing is identifying more persuasion audiences, and identifying more persuasion targets through the organizing work that we do together. Now, we're not in the run advertisement business, but it doesn't mean that we don't partner with people who aren't in that business. And so I'm hoping that we can help them build better like lookalike audiences in the way that Tudor's talking about.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
What's something y'all wish more campaigns understood about relational work?
Oh, just the power of it and the like exponential growth. Like pre-COVID, I used to have to explain what exponential growth is, but you know, the pandemic fixed that problem. But still, our programs grow really rapidly and can scale pretty rapidly in a way that I don't think other programs can scale to the equivalent. And I think people get like too bought up or too wrapped up in like how much they take to like launch, and don't really realize like how impactful it could be and how the contact rates are higher. Like, yes, everybody knows what a canvas looks like. It is easier to go out and launch a canvas because you've been to one, you've seen one, you know what you're doing there. For a lot of people, they haven't done relational organizing programs at scale. And so it's like this like kind of scary thing. And so they're afraid to like try it, if that makes sense. But like the reach that we've been able to like just it has exploded. Like every time we launch a program now, it seems like we're doing more to contain it than we are to grow it, so we don't blow through all of our budget. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's the part that I wish that like, you know, people understood is just like we have an army of community mobilizers, and they can be leveraged to do all kinds of different things. And for some folks, it feels like a fairly large missed opportunity. So.
You've both been doing this work in different ways for a very long time. What is inspiring you right now in these extremely dark times?
Oof.
Maybe nothing, and that's okay too. Or maybe the answer you just gave could be something that you could look at as inspiring. The fact that folks are so excited to join you.
I mean, I'm like a perpetual tinkerer. Like I like to try new things constantly. And I'm excited by folks like Tudor who are not scared of me. The programs we run are pretty big, and sometimes I go and I talk to someone and they're like, oh, I don't know if we can do that. But Tudor was game from, I feel like, day one. So
cool.
I'm very excited about the culture of experimentation that I'm seeing in the space right now. I personally think that this is the best way to actually come up with a winning strategy. Like I've attended multiple large events over the last 6 months, and people are arguing with passion about this is the right track, this is the right direction, this is what we should be doing. It's influencers, no, it's ads, it's this. I think that's amazing, right? This is because this is the only way you can actually, like, by actually going out there and trying different things and then showing what works and what doesn't, so that hopefully the progressives can actually just see by the beginning of 2026 what's actually working and then scale what works. I really love that. And I think that's what can lead to victory in the future. So I'm not I know there's a lot of things going wrong with the world, and there's a lot of things that are going wrong in DC, but I actually, and in times like this, people feel the need to have one direction and stick to this. Maybe I'm an optimist, but I actually think that this kind of experimentation that feels aimless because there's not just one direction. It's actually the right track, and asking hard questions and showing data of what works and what doesn't. I actually, this is something I'm really inspired by, actually.
How can folks stay in touch with the two of y'all moving forward?
I'm Amanda at empowerproject.us.
If folks want to get involved with relational organizing, should they reach out, or you're full?
Yeah, they should. I have a whole host of, we're like a pretty big team. We're like 20 people. And so we have a whole host of people who can help. We're also currently running a program in Virginia and Pennsylvania. And so if people are interested in getting involved with that, they should feel free to reach out.
Nice.
And I'm Tudor at SoSha.ai. SoSha as in social sharing, SOSHA. So and we're really excited to help orgs understand that their existing community is an untapped potential, and we want to help them make the most of that.
Cool. Well, thank you all so much for coming on the pod and talking about the work you've been doing.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That does it for another episode of Hello Merge Tag. Thanks so much for listening. Know anyone who might appreciate this podcast? Please share it with them today. Find all episodes at hellomergetag.com or wherever you stream podcasts. Have questions or want to connect? Drop us a line at hello@reverbalcommunications.com. Until next time, keep on telling your story.